and welcome to Careers Portal Live. This is where we aim to help you stay in the know about everything education, training, and lifestyle related. So today we are joined by Tanya from Boston City Campus. She's going to be telling us all about what Boston has to offer for you and how it could be of use to you. Hello, Tanya.
Hi, Swigela, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good, thank you.
It's fine, you can go ahead.
Awesome. So I'd like to say good afternoon to everyone. I'd like to welcome you to our online discussion. As mentioned, my name is Tanya, and it certainly it's a privilege to really be able to discuss a topic with you that I'm truly so passionate about. Really, education, as you know, is absolutely vital and critical. It's positively the best investment you can make. And one of our functions at Boston is to really assist you in how can we provide you with that education for life. I've been associated with Boston for many, many years. I'm not just an employee. I actually studied through Boston. That's how I started out here. I eventually then moved into the role as sales consultant. I went out to schools, met with learners, and really got to see what the demand is out there. And I'm now in a very fortunate position that I do manage the branch in Bedfordview. So my history with Boston is really one that I feel fits in with one of our mission statements at Boston. And that is to also improve staff development, loyalty and morale. And as you know, education isn't just about that theory that you're learning about accounting or business management. It's more than that. It's about that life skill that you are actually going to take out there, apply in your own personal life and within a business environment. So to give you a background on Boston, we were established over 30 years ago. So we truly have a very solid foundation. We are locally accredited and also internationally recognized with our higher certificates, our diplomas, and our degrees. So it's very exciting when we know that we can actually assist so many of you out there to actually pursue that dream that you have. One of our functions is to assist every single learner in actually selecting from our learning programs. And so how do we do that? So first off, we have 45 branches countrywide, which again, we really are honored to be able to be accessible to a large population out there. So students can come into the branch at any time, you can phone in, you can email, or even better, we have an absolutely amazing website. So on the website, when you log on, you can submit an inquiry that will come straight through to a support center. You will then be contacted by a very competent staff member from the support center who will then be able to pick up the phone you and say, right, I see that you have identified marketing as a course you're interested in. And you can also do an online application on the website. So that is one of the ways that you would be able to communicate with us. We obviously always encourage students to come into the branch, so even during periods now with lockdown. We are following all the necessary safety measures that we need to. So, we still encourage people to come in, but if you feel that you don't want to do that, then you would need to obviously utilize all the other forms that you can in terms of communicating with us. And on that note, as you know, we're living in a time of a lot of uncertainty, a lot of things that are not reliable, but Boston is certainly very responsive to a changing environment. And what I mean by that is that during the lockdown period, when the college had to close and staff had to work from home and students now had to work from home, every single student was able to actually do that. And the reason for this is because we have a study portal, which is called Call Campus. It's accessible 24/7 from anywhere, as long as you have internet access. We did also assist students in obtaining data through an agreement we had with MTN. So students were able to go online, they were able to actually watch their pre-recorded lectures. There was no disruption to their studies. They could upload their assignments. They were still able to participate in online exams. So for us, the semester that we had was still able to function fully. And I think that's something that we really pride ourselves on in terms of that portal that is available anywhere. The other thing is that obviously we accommodate for full-time studies. So for those students who are able to really just focus on their studies for that academic year, they can come into the branch. If you are working and you would like to study part-time, you can also attend part-time, and that will be coming into a support centre if you did not have access to internet at home. And then we are also correspondents. So for some of our students who don't feel the need that they need to come in during the semester until it comes to exams, they have that benefit because of the Cold Campus Portal. They can actually study correspondence from home. So we really constantly track the changing needs of the marketplace. Our academic departments in Stellenbosch, they're constantly updating academic material, making sure that the course offerings that students require and that the marketplace requires out there is being designed and developed so that we can accommodate as much as possible for the student base out there. So what we do is, as staff, so let's say, for example, someone is currently in matric or they finished and they have absolutely no idea what it is that they want to do. We offer something called a career compass assessment, and it's available at every single branch countrywide. Students can come in, and it's called a career compass assessment. So essentially, it's all on computer. Students would log on. It's not an intimidating, invasive questionnaire. It's really an interest-based questionnaire, which gives the students as well as the staff a better idea in terms of where do your actual interests lie. What is it that you're passionate about? How can we assist you to pursue that? So the Career Compass Assessment is available. It's free of charge. We always encourage students throughout the year to come in and do it. And I also personally say to students, you know what, you come in and do it in the beginning of the year, then why not maybe come later in the year when possibly you've written matric exams and you just want to do a comparison and see, have my ideas changed? Because a lot of things do change during your year of study. And when you've had some input and influence from maybe guidance teachers or actually friends or family, and maybe people who actually work in the industry. So people are welcome to come in and maybe do that career compass assessment twice. I'm sure a lot of people wonder, when it comes to grades, I'm going to study, but what happens when I'm finished my studies? So one of the exciting things that Boston offers as well is a Graduate Plus program. Obviously, there are terms and conditions that apply, like there is with anything. But what the Graduate Plus program says is that if you as a graduate cannot find employment within 6 months, Boston will undertake to assist you in finding that employment internally or externally. You will have to sign an agreement with Boston, but that is something that we certainly assist you with. And if we can't place you, then we also assist you with study assistance. So that's something which I think is really great because it goes beyond the fact that we've now just offered you a course in your studies. We are still maintaining that after service at the end of the day and assistance that students require. Boston also is associated and accredited by a number of certifying bodies. So I just want to mention a couple of them. We are accredited by ICB, the Institute of Certified Bookkeepers. So that's specifically for people who maybe want to study things on the accounting, bookkeeping side, the financial field. We also have countrywide BUE testing centers. So for anyone who studies a computer course, for example, you would be able to then book to write an international exam. Obviously, it does require that you come into a support center, but it's also a great way for students to actually be able to come in and see the facility. We are PASL accredited, also accreditations with Microsoft and CompTIA, and then we also have a relationship with FMI, Financial Management Institute. So again, that is a lot more focused on the financial side of studies. And then this is a huge question that a lot of institutions get. Do you have international accreditation? We do have with BAC, the British Accreditation Council. And one of the important things is that every single learning program that we have is aligned to an NQF standard. So what does NQF mean? Now, NQF means a National Qualification Framework. And students will be able to see in any of our brochures where we actually list the course that you're going to do has a SACO ID number. So what's important about that is that if a student wanted to know, are we actually accredited for the course that we say we are, they can go onto the SACRA website, they can put in the SACRA ID number, and it will prove that Boston is accredited for that. And we have so many exciting courses that we offer. You know, not too long ago, we introduced the postgraduate diploma in management, which is an NQF level 8. And it is such a well-recognized and well-rounded postgraduate course that anybody can do, and it's accessible to anyone with an undergraduate degree. So when I refer to undergraduate degree, we're talking about an NQF level 7. And we cover areas like, for example, someone who wants to do a Bachelor of Commerce in Law. Or maybe you enjoy the field of management, but you don't want to be restricted just to management. Maybe you want to do management and marketing. And so our degree, the Bachelor of Commerce, is called the Bachelor of Commerce in Management Marketing because it covers both. So you actually, at the end of the day, are getting the best of both worlds. We also have a Bachelor of Social Sciences degree. We actually, even despite the lockdown, we were able to launch a Bachelor of Commerce in Human Resource Management, which we just launched in this semester, which was very, very exciting for us, as well as an accounting degree. So for anyone who wants to go on to become a chartered accountant, we've got a Bachelor of Accounting degree as well. Certainly with diplomas, there's no limitation either. We've got marketing, we've got finance. For those students who are particularly interested in systems development or networking, we do have that. Remember, with the diploma, it is an NQF level 6, okay? And then we also have higher certificates in many of the same areas of discipline as well. So one of the major questions that we often find students ask is, so I didn't do so well in the trick. So the first thing is that Boston prides itself on the fact that we have learning pathways. And what I really love about the learning pathways is that, as we know, you may start out an academic year with certain expectations and hopes. And as you know, life often takes its own course. So let's say, for example, a student does not gain direct admission into a degree, okay? And they get that statement of results. And here they were hoping for that statement to say, you've been admitted to bachelor's degree studies. With our learning pathways, it means, for example, that you as a student can come to Boston and say, hey, fine, you can start with a higher certificate, which is an NQF level 5. And from there, on successful completion of that academic year, you can then apply for advanced placement into further studies. So our registrar's office would then have a look and say, right, you've proven you can complete the level of work that's required, you can then be admitted into a diploma or degree program. And it's been so successful with our students because a lot of them have then been able to still achieve that dream of going into that degree that they want to. Okay, so what we essentially look at is we don't work on a point system. We certainly do need you to meet admission requirements, which is always based on your senior certificate. So if it's a higher certificate you want to study for, your statement of results must say that you have higher certificate admission. Likewise, if you want to study for a diploma, it needs to stipulate admission into diploma studies, or if it's for a bachelor's degree, it needs to state admission into bachelor's degree studies. We also have occupational qualifications. So let's say, for example, there's someone who's been in the work industry for a couple of years, okay, and they want to just complete a shorter term course. So they maybe want a skills-based program. So that's where our occupational qualifications come into the equation. And what I really love about our method of tuition is it's very hands-on. It's visual. Students are watching a pre-recorded lecture, they're listening, they're reading through their notes at the same time. So we find that the retention rate is a lot higher because you're not just sitting in a class now where a lecturer is rambling on and that you can easily get distracted, because the minute you're utilizing all those senses, you're already absorbing so much information. With the Cole Campus portal, what's also great is that if, for example, a student has a question, they have access to their educators where they can send them a message. There's a whole messaging portal there, and that educator will then respond to them. So really, at the end of the day, why choose Boston? So here's a number of reasons why you definitely would want to choose Boston. First of all, you can study at your own pace. But now remember, obviously everything is within a required time frame. But what we mean by studying within your own, at your own pace is, if, for example, you are a student who maybe battles a bit with accounting, because your lectures are pre-recorded, you can actually go through that lecture as many times as you need to. So it caters very much for you as the individual. It removes that stress from a classroom environment where maybe you're intimidated to raise your hand and ask a question, or maybe you're afraid that someone might think you're not capable. And so with the study portal, you can therefore spend more time on the subject that you're battling with. If you finish your assignments before due dates, you can submit before due dates. So it's definitely flexible and it accommodates very much the individual. Study schedules are flexible. So for example, if you are a mom who has a full-time job and you then still got to go home in the evening and study, you can. You can then also, when it comes to exams, and you are given, for example, a 2-week exam schedule, you say, right, I know now that I can actually spread my exams out. My chance of being able to study and be more successful at passing is definitely increased. Like I mentioned to you, the lessons can be repeated, your educators are online, so you never have to worry that you're going to arrive at a branch, your lecturer hasn't arrived, maybe they've had a breakdown. If, for example, there was load shedding at the branch, you're not going to be affected because you're at home. You can still actually access that lesson. If you were sick and you couldn't get into college that day, that's fine. When maybe you just need to have a little bit of a break in the morning and you want to log on later for a session, you've got that flexibility to do it. The other massive benefit is that textbooks are all included. So when we quote you, we are not just quoting you for your tuition or your exams, but you are assured that your textbooks, and just to give you an example, this is just one of the textbooks that we actually provide to our students. So that is always included in your studies. We've been voted best college for 11 years running, and that certainly, testifies for itself, the quality education that we provide, and the fact that our students have been very satisfied with the service that they're receiving. The outcome, we rated 3rd globally and 1st in South Africa by CompTIA. So everything we feel is very accessible for students, very user-friendly, and that goes right down to how do students apply. And like I mentioned to you, if you go onto our website, it has 3 tabs. You can obviously click on the one to say you'd like to make an inquiry, go straight through to the support center. We then have one for new application, where a student can apply online. You fill in your personal information and then upload a copy of your matric certificate and ID. And literally within a day, you can receive an acceptance letter. Sometimes when it's peak registration times, at the most that you'll possibly wait is up to 2 days. And then you can also do an application for credits as well. So that's just the application process. Nothing hectic where you have to now go and stand in a queue and you have to hand in documents. If, however, you're at home and you do have any issues with the application process, or maybe you need some guidance on it, or maybe on that particular day you just didn't have internet accessibility, you're welcome to come into the branch. Literally takes a couple of minutes. One of us will assist you with doing the online application and uploading the documents. And then once you've received an acceptance letter, then from there you can go on to do an actual registration with the branch. So it's very user friendly. The Boston website is www.boston.co.za, and we really look forward to meeting with our students, with prospective students who would like to come into the branch and actually see more in terms of how am I actually going to be studying, what does this Cole Campus portal actually look like, and to receive the guidance that they need from one of our staff.
Thank you so much, Tanya. I think it's great that textbooks are included within the tuition fees and the fact that you can do things at your own pace. So Boston really does have quite a lot to offer for you. So now we're going to go into the section where we have questions from our audience. Let's start with the first few. The first one is Boston a private or public institution?
Okay, so we are privately owned, yes.
Okay. Second question is, this is from Gobeni. They say, I studied to be a secretary at Boston, but my certificate doesn't have the name of my course on it. Can I have this fixed?
Okay, so quite an unusual scenario, I must be honest, because when it comes to any certificate that is issued by certification departments, it would always have the title of the course on there. I'm going to suggest, I'm going to give my email address. So you said the person's name is Ngobeni?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to suggest that Ngobeni contacts me by email. I'd like to visually see what that actual certificate says. And if they could just let me know the branch that they studied through, and then we can always take that up with the certifications department. So my email address is Tanya with a Y, Tanyad for December, at boston.co.za.
So that's Tanya D at boston.co.za.
That's right. .za, yes.
Okay. We have a few questions from that came through. What support facilities does Boston have for students who are registered? E.g., student councils, student portals, on-one training. So they're asking about the support structures that you have for support facilities that you have for students who are registered.
Okay, so I'm assuming academic support. They're talking more about academic support.
Yeah.
Okay, so Carl Campus as a portal is a very holistic, comprehensive portal. So the first thing is that not only is all of the courses available on Carl Campus, so every single module will be on there, so you'll have your course outline. You then have your list of educators, you'll have an email address whereby you can message them. And on the Carl Campus portal, you'll be able to submit assignments, and you will likewise receive memorandums from lecturers as well. There are some textbooks that are loaded onto the Carl Campus portal as well. Then there's also a library module. So every single student, doesn't matter which course you register for, you will have a library module available for resources. There's also a student wellness module. So that might be for a student who perhaps needs assistance with time management, stress management, how do I go about my studies? So all of that is available there. Now, in addition, every single branch is a support center. So let's say, for example, a student needs to come in and discuss more about their studies. How do they maybe submit an appeal for a result that they received, for example, or maybe they need to collect a textbook. That would be where the support center, and that being every single branch, that's what our function is. So you could then come into the support center and receive that assistance directly from. So our function is really on an admin basis. The educators are based in Stellenbosch, so that you would have to reach out to them via the Carl Campus portal.
Okay, thank you for answering that question. We have another question. What percentage of graduating students find jobs in their career field in 3 to 6 months?
Okay, so I'm not directly involved in the placement of graduates, so I'm not going to lie to you and try to give you a figure. We certainly have a lot of relationships with companies though. So we do have internships, which is predominantly handled by our head office, okay? From a branch level, let's say, for example, we have companies contacting us. What we normally do is we would then email every single student who has graduated. We've got 2 graduation ceremonies during the year. That's usually May, and then the next one's around about September, October. We would email those students any internship position that we receive locally at a branch, and it is then up to the student to apply. The Graduate Plus program is a relatively new program that we have introduced. So I can't give you a percentage right now in terms of how many have actually been successful in actually being given employment. But those are the measures that we do actually have in place currently.
Okay. We have another question. What is the average class size of introductory courses?
Okay, so remember, we're not a public institution. I think where a lot of students have this idea that they're going in and sitting in a class with 100 students. So I'm going to use my branch as an example. we can accommodate up to 160 learners at a time. So what we ordinarily do is we have 3 study sessions per day. And every student that's coming in, so remember, you're not sitting with the lecturer lecturing you. You're actually logging onto Qual Campus, which is a portal, a study portal on a computer. So you as a student would be assigned to that. So if, for example, we had 160 students coming in for that session, you would have 160 students working in the college. But you are all working off your own workstation. You've got your computer, you'll have a headset, like what I've got in terms of being able to listen to the online lecture. So it's very individualized. So you are logging on using your own student number to access your Qual Campus portal. So it's not an environment where people are coming in for a lecture and all sort of sitting in that lecture hall. No, it's actually coming in and using the support center where you're utilizing our computer and internet facilities to log onto a system. So you might be studying a BCom marketing and the person on the workstation next to you might be doing a diploma in marketing. So it's very different subject material that you're working through at that particular time. So there's no disruption or interaction in the college. However, on Qual Campus, if you wanted to have a discussion group and you wanted to be able to discuss business management as a subject with students from any other branch, that you would be able to do that on the Qual Campus portal under discussions.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
We have a question from Mashilo, who is saying, I would like to rewrite, upgrade my mathematics. Please advise if your institution offers such services, and if so, please send me information about enrollment and the fees.
Okay, so the Boston City campuses themselves, we are tertiary. So any student who wants to improve on a matric subject, we do have the IB Academy, which is based at our head office in Orange Grove. Out of the Boston group, that would be the only way that you would be able to upgrade a grade 12 subject. So that's something you would need to contact the IB Academy for. Unfortunately, it's not available through the Boston City campuses direct. My understanding though, and you need to just clarify, is that you would need to repeat the subject. I'm not sure if they can assist you just in terms of you rewrite that exam. That you'd have to clarify with them.
Okay. We have another question. How easy or difficult is it to enroll in the courses you need? So they want to know how easy or difficult is it to enroll in, I think they're asking about the courses that Boston has to offer. Yeah.
Okay, so very easy, and I'll tell you why very easy. Because from the time that you inquire, we would obviously direct you to the Boston website. And like I mentioned to you, it's an online application whereby you fill in your personal information, you upload a copy of your, if you don't have your matric certificate, you can submit a statement of results and your ID. That goes straight through to the registrar's office, and they will then send you an acceptance letter. If you don't have that internet access at home, or you're not sure how to do it, it literally is simply a case of you come into the branch, you don't even have to set up an appointment, you come in, meet with a consultant, and we can assist you in doing that. So remember, every single course has its own entry requirements. And I mentioned in my talk that as long as your statement of results stipulates that you meet that particular entry requirement, that is what we're looking at. Okay, so it really isn't a difficult process at all. It literally, to give you an idea, on Tuesday we had someone who had never applied before, so they weren't even accepted into the course. We literally got the application done and we got the registration done on the same day. So that's how simple the process can be.
That's quick. That's very quick. Offer free courses or opportunities?
Okay, so free courses. So the truth of it is, what we usually do, and we have offered a free financial independence course to students. Just remember that that financial independence course is not a credit-bearing course. So it's not going to go towards your high certificate, diploma, or degree. I think the question might be along more the lines of financial assistance. We do have flexible payment options available. If someone cannot afford to pay their studies off in full, we offer 4 months, 8 months, or 10 months payment options. We do also have bursary applications. Now, bursary applications, we deal with them at a branch level in the sense that you will email us a letter of motivation. We do look at matric results, copy of your ID, and we have a bursary committee that they basically approve bursary applications. There are only 2 times during the year where you can actually apply. So it is certainly something that a student would need to, whichever branch of Boston they were going to apply at, they would need to discuss with that branch submission dates and all that kind of thing. We certainly do look at that on an individual case-by-case basis.
Has your acceptance or registration process changed since it is now COVID-19? The admission standards higher for certain majors? Oh, I think those are 2 different questions. Yeah, I think those might be 2 different questions. So the first part of the question is, has your acceptance or registration process changed since it is now COVID-19?
Okay, so I think I can say yes. Before, we probably had a lot more students who, what we would classify as walk-ins, who would come into the branch with their paperwork, so that we could assist them with the online application. We have found that a lot of students are able to do that by themselves. You know, once you've contacted us telephonically or you've emailed us, we can certainly walk you through the process of how do you go onto the Boston website, what do you need to click on, what do you need to submit. So a lot more students are doing their own applications from home. So that certainly has changed. We've even been able to do, you can do registrations directly online. We can email you the link, so that if you don't want to come into a branch, you certainly can do that. To cover the second part of the question, no, we certainly haven't changed any admission requirements. So remember, the admission requirements will always be based on a specific fact sheet for a particular course. So if someone inquired on a higher certificate in marketing, if that fact sheet stipulates that you need to have a senior certificate with admission to higher certificate studies, that will always remain the same unless the entry requirements are changed by the academic department in Stellenbosch. So no, we certainly haven't changed any of the actual admission requirements.
We have a question from Tsepo. I think they're asking along the lines of a graduate placing program. They're asking, is it possible for you to partner with organizations so that when students are done with their studies, they can be directly linked with employment?
Yes, so that's definitely, so we have a database of companies who we are currently building relationships with and do have relationships with, whereby we can then refer and provide those students with the details from the company. Like I mentioned, there are certain companies who do have internship opportunities. They're very specific in terms of the candidates they're looking for in the field. And that certainly is something that we do make available to students. Yes, absolutely.
We have a question from Nolita. They are asking, I'm looking to become an administrator in the government sector. Do you offer administration courses?
Okay, so within the government sector, quite specialized and specific. I would say out of the courses that we offer, probably the closest one that you would need to look at is the Bachelor of Social Sciences degree. The reason being that you're going to obviously cover things like your anthropology, a bit of economics, public discourse law. So although it may not necessarily be a degree in politics, it certainly covers like leadership, ethics and governance, a couple of those areas that possibly would put you on the right path. So that's what we do have under the Bachelor of Social Science degree.
Nontombi is asking, where in South Africa are your campuses?
Okay, so Nontombi, we really are almost everywhere. Having 45 support centers nationwide, just to give you an idea, we are in Witbank, the Ennigan, Zanin, Springs, Somerset West, Rustenburg, Rudolph, Pretoria, Polokwane, Port Elizabeth, Port Shepstone, Pietermaritzburg, Mthatha, Ladysmith, Bloemfontein, Durban, George. So all of those branches that are specifically listed are on the Boston website. So I'm not sure what area Ntombi's from, but I'm certain that one of those colleges would certainly be in the area that possibly Ntombi's from.
We have a question from Matsubane. They are asking, oh, sorry, we've already covered this part about the free courses. And
okay, no problem.
we have a question from Yonela. I have a Bachelor of Administration degree. I recently completed my honors degree in 2019 and have been struggling to find a job. Does Boston City campus offer work placement for opportunities for graduates?
Okay, so unfortunately, you have to be a Boston graduate to get into our Graduate Plus program. You know, there are requirements in terms of that. We don't have a recruitment office that deals just specifically with recruitment for a student who hasn't necessarily studied with Boston. So if it was a case that the student then went on to do a course with Boston and met the criteria, then we certainly could assist. But if it's for a course not completed with us, unfortunately, in that instance, we can't help with the Graduate Plus program. However, in saying that, you know, we do have a lot of internship programs which are headed up and managed by our head office. So the best person to rather maybe possibly address that with would be Dr. Dionisa Damons from our head office in Orange Grove. And she could possibly put her on the right track of, you know, is there something that we can possibly assist with?
Mummy has a question. I think that's how they say your name. I trust this email finds you well. How many points do I need to study at your institution? Do I still qualify if I failed one subject?
Okay, so we don't work on a point system. I know that a lot of institutions, you have to accumulate so many points to get into a certain faculty. So what we do is we look purely at your final matric results. We look at the statement of results. We don't look at prelims. We don't look at grade 11 results. So if you come to us at the end of the year and your statement of results says you meet the requirements for bachelor's degree admission, then that's all that we need for you to be able to apply for that particular degree. So we're not going to look at those subjects that you did and how many points you need, because we don't work on a point system. So that should be very good news for you.
Okay. Our last question is, which courses do you offer for nurses? I'm a professional nurse willing to study post-diploma in infection control.
So sadly, unfortunately, that's something that we don't offer. Quite a specialized field, so yeah, that's not something that we have. So we can't assist with that. The only thing that we have obviously is an HIV/AIDS counselling higher certificate, but in terms of infection control, no, unfortunately, that's not something. We don't offer anything in the medical sciences field.
Oh, I thought that was our last question, but it turns out we have another one.
This no problem.
Does Boston offer distance learning?
Yes, absolutely. So just to give you an example, with distance learning, it means that you can come in the beginning of a semester, you can collect your textbooks, and if you have a computer at home and if you have a reliable internet, you can certainly study on your own at home. Under normal circumstances, when it wasn't lockdown, students obviously would come into the college to write the exams and they were invigilated. During lockdown, obviously what happened, we didn't want to compromise the semester, we didn't have to. Students were able to still complete their exams at home. What happened was a lot of them became multiple choice exams, or in some instances, depending on the subject in the course, it either was a project or assignment based. So you can actually be a complete correspondence student. We have some students who are actually living in Canada or anywhere else overseas. You can study correspondence. It would just be a case of them getting an invigilator to actually invigilate that exam. So if you are not able to come into the college at all to study, the way that Carl Campus is designed is you certainly can study from home as long as you have that computer and internet available.
I think we can end off with a little reminder to people. I think we have another question. Where can people get hold of you or contact Boston?
Okay, so with the Boston website, you can specifically select a particular branch or support center that you wish to contact. I'll give you the website again, www.boston.co.za, or if it is specifically the Bedford View branch that you would like to study at, then they're welcome to contact me on my email address. On the website, it does list all of the contact numbers for the relevant branches, and we do have a national call center as well. Perhaps it would help if I give you that number. The national call center can direct your inquiry to the correct branch as well. It's 011
011
551
551
2000. And then the student can just suggest which branch they would prefer to study at, and that will then be directed to the relevant branch if they don't want to go into the Boston website.
That's great. Someone's asking, what makes Boston so special? Why should I study at Boston?
I'd certainly like to say our method of tuition. You know, it's like I said earlier, you know, the fact that even during COVID, there was absolutely no disruption to students being able to study. You know, we have staff who are available from Monday through to Saturday. Like I mentioned to you, we have been voted Queen's College for 11 years running. And not just because I'm an employee here, you know, I've been on the other side as a student as well. And I know that this method of tuition, it works. It caters for you as a student. We get to know our students personally. You know, we pride ourselves on the fact that you're not just a number. You know, during lockdown, we set up WhatsApp groups with our students so that we could keep in contact with them on a weekly basis, so that we could see how you're doing, how you're coping with your studies. You know, are you perhaps having any issues? So there was a consistent support structure. And I think, you know, the fact that not only have you got a strong academic support structure with your educators, but likewise you've got the same with the admin staff, you know, countrywide. So the fact that we've been around for 30 years is really testimony to the fact that we're established. You know, we keep growing, we keep changing, it's dynamic. We have a department that is constantly looking to upgrade and make sure that the course that you're achieving at the end of the day is recognized. You know, even with the graduations, during lockdown, there was still a virtual ceremony that took place. So there's no disruption, and I honestly think that that is a huge, huge bonus for Boston, that we could continue to just consistently deliver and operate under any circumstances. So yeah, I certainly feel that that would definitely be reason enough to choose Boston.
Khao is asking, does Boston offer part-time studies?
Yes, so let me tell you, with part-time, so it really is just a classification. You know, if you start to study for a high certificate, diploma, or degree, your semester structure is the same, so it will be the same duration. For example, our semester now starts the 27th of July, and it runs through till about the first week of November. So whether you're a full-time or part-time student, you would still follow the same academic structure. The benefit though, if you choose to be a part-time student, let's say for example, you have work and family commitments and you want to spread your studies over a longer period of time, you can do that. So with a diploma and degree, the minimum time frame is 3 years. The maximum is 9. So if you feel that a workload in a semester is too much, you can always decide, instead of registering for 5 modules in that semester, you might choose to do 3. And then come the next semester, if you feel that things are not going to be too hectic with work and you want to add on more, you can. So that duration of minimum 3 years, maximum 9, that usually accommodates for our part-time students. In terms of support center structures, so for the Better View branch, our part-time students are welcome to come into the branch any day of the week, to be quite honest. But for those who specifically stick to specific office hours, they would ordinarily come in on a Wednesday evening, and then we are also open on a Saturday morning. So even when it comes to exam sessions, we always make sure that we actually accommodate for those students to be able to write their exams on Saturdays as well. Students are even able to write on those Wednesday evenings when it comes to the higher education exams. So it definitely is flexible for anyone who needs to study full-time, part-time, or correspondence.
Are people still able to register to become a Boston student for next year, perhaps?
Okay, so applications, so tomorrow is our deadline for higher education registrations if you've already been accepted, and you would be 2 weeks behind with the semester, but you certainly could still come in and register. We are certainly taking applications for next year. We've already been receiving a lot of applications via the Boston website, so applications are already open for next year. For any occupational learning program, you can still definitely come in and register. So remember, with the occupational learning program, it is not semesterized. So let's say, for example, someone was to come into my branch tomorrow and register. Literally within the course of next week, we could start you with the occupational learning programs that are more skills-based. It means that you could, for example, take a subject like word processing. You could complete that theory within a 3-week time frame, whereby you write a trial exam, then a final, and then you move on to the next subject. So we register students literally throughout the year for any of the occupational short learning programs. Tomorrow, like I say, is the actual deadline for higher education registrations if you've already been accepted.
So if you haven't already been accepted, it's your first time applying to Boston. When do applications close for students, first time entering students?
Okay, so first time entering students. So remember, for this semester, it started on the 27th of July. So for most applications right now, a lot of them will be for next year. So any application we get now, that acceptance letter is still going to be valid for next year. And usually our first semester starts usually around about mid-February. If anybody was fortunate enough to have already gone onto the internet, got an acceptance letter, and they've received a quote from one of the branches, I'm sure that you'd be able to still get in and do your registration first thing tomorrow morning. Otherwise, you're going to have to wait until the new year. But applications are currently open for any studies for next year. And remember, for grade 12, you will get a conditional letter of acceptance up until you actually receive your statement of results. The minute you get your statement of results, that will then need to be submitted via the Boston website, and that will then be converted to a complete letter of acceptance based on your statement of results.
Okay, thank you so much, Tanya, for telling us all that we needed to know about Boston. So you heard it here. You can still apply if you're a first-time entering student. Thank you so much for letting us know what makes Boston so special and why we should choose Boston. If you're watching and you're considering some higher education choices, you now know why you should consider Boston. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity, and I really look forward to either meeting with you in person, or you've got the Boston web address, you've also got my email, so please feel free to contact me, and all stay well and safe.
Yeah. If you want to contact Tanya by email, it's tanyad@boston.co.za, and the Boston website is www.co.za. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Careers Portal Live. We'll see you again next week. Goodbye.
Thanks very much. Bye, everyone.